Hello, my name is Lily. Today we're reviewing Underscore's 2026 album You. To start, I will say that while I enjoyed this, it does not compete with her previous project Wall Socket, which is honestly one of my favorite albums of this decade and probably of all time. Wall Socket was a project with a very diverse array of sounds and topics, with both over the top and also moving introspective parts. It's glitchy, dancey, and very playful and creative with its production, and very Gen Z sounding. It's one of those albums that feel like a movie. That's what I always say, a whole experience rather than just a collection of songs. April would preserve the catchy electropop aspect of this album in this new record, You, wanting to not really care too much about creating lore for the songs as she's done in the past. Instead, she just wanted to make songs that are more of an easy listen. Her music has always been quite accessible, but in this album, not only her songs are accessible, they are also radio friendly. And in some way this worked, since I see that she's gained visibility not only for the users of rating music websites, but also for average listeners. She's had this orientation towards simplicity since last year, collaborating with Danny Brown on the song Copycats, Popstar, Rockstar, that song, released as a single for his album Stardust. This song was a little underwhelming to me due to the previous Stardust single being very experimental in comparison. I like it, but again, its simplicity just leaves me wanting more. To the point it's kind of basic. Instead, it's just okay to me, although I've seen myself replaying it. In fact, in an interview, Danny Brown says that they made that song in like 20 minutes, and I can tell. I really can tell. Getting into the album, I want to talk a bit about music. One of my favorite songs in the album, and the song I had on repeat last year as it was released as a single. This song is very explosive. In fact, every verse here hits like an explosion, due to the use of this repeating silence before impact arrangement. Hollywood Forever is a song that maybe in the first half made me think that I wouldn't necessarily be listening to this if it wasn't Underscores. Near the end, April's production does gain back a bit of its personality though, especially with that acoustic guitar. Innuendo is a very fun, catchy, and in parts sexy song that leaves plenty of space for its hard-hitting bass and sometimes Latin-inspired percussion, again having this constant impact that I mentioned having found earlier in the song Music, then escalating as it goes back into EDM territory. I like how it develops and never stops, having these like robotic interruptions that feel like sudden friction along these laser sounds. That does a good job in keeping you hooked. That part where she says I get. Well, the song Do It definitely has all of the impact and the catchiness that I've already talked about. It's an undeniable banger and pretty much what this album promises to be. Topically, this album is not the deepest and there's not something I feel like highlighting, honestly. It doesn't have the storytelling or the introspective, sometimes crude lyrics of Wall Socket. This is something very different, and now that I think about it, it's a very big shift. She talks more about love, relationships and experiences. To me, this ends up sounding more like personal drama that I don't really find a reason to care about, even though I can see that she shows sincerity in doing so. But I guess this album is more about love, relationships and internal conflicts related to them, exemplified in the song Body Feeling, which to me talks more about being psychologically manipulated and not doing anything about it, which honestly raises an eyebrow for me. I see that a reason for why it's called You, as in the pronoun you, might be that all of the songs have lyrics in second person, as if dedicated to someone. So this album could be some sort of collection of love letters dedicated to someone, or pages from a teenager's diary with writings that are dedicated to someone but not necessarily sent to them. Not a common average teenager, of course. We're talking about someone with fame and a very social and busy environment like April. At the end, it's just a small collection of love songs with an EDM twist that, while I find enjoyable for the most part, as I've said, topically it's a slight regression from what we had in Wall Socket. Independently from that album, it's not something that fascinates me necessarily. And also the length of the album, it makes it a little too fleeting for me, and it's not like a very experimental, glitchy, noisy album that needs that. It's not that you cannot really take it anymore, so the runtime is short because of that. Not the case. I actually was left craving for more. I can appreciate this album even though it's not something that I would come back to, except for 4 of the songs, which is almost half of the songs, which is not that bad. I think Underscores does show off her production abilities, sounding very high quality and demonstrating she cares about sound design and attention to detail with it in her compositions. There are production details always appearing in very engaging ways. I'm sorry if I've made comparisons with her previous project, but yeah, I think WallSocket sets the bar very high for April. I still find this enjoyable. It has bangers that I will come back to. This is good for the radio and the club in many occasions, that's for sure. Rating music is weird, but I would give this one a good 7 out of 10. And that's about it. Thank you for watching and see you next time.